So, in the previous development log for Trial of Nio, link in the card above if you have not seen that video yet, I talked a bit about some things I wanted to add to this project and the core mechanics of localized temporal offsets. And during that video, I quickly skimmed over that it was the parent class to some other object types like dynamic temporal objects. This log will mainly be focused on some of those other child objects and some uses I have for them. Powerable objects and power sources. The name is a pretty good indicator for what they do, but in short, one of them generates power when a condition is met, and another performs an action when it receives power. For example, a pressure button powering a door. The power source is the pressure button, and the powerable object is the door. A lot of the puzzle solving in this game will come down to the interactions between powerable objects and power sources. So let's go over a few of them. Firstly, the pressure button. This is a pretty straightforward power source. A pressure button sends a signal to a connected powerable object when it is fully pressed down by a siphon cube. You can adjust its local time offset to make it press faster or slower, as well as freeze its state entirely. If you freeze its state, you can remove the cube while keeping the button pressed, and if you speed it up, it will press near instantly when the cube comes in contact with it. Combining these two allows you to press buttons in nearly any orientation. Next is movable objects. Movable objects are a type of powerable object which essentially need to move to a predetermined location, like on a rail or track, while being powered. Moving platforms are one such type of implementation. These can be sped up and slowed down much like the buttons, which could be useful for some timing-based interactions and platforming areas. While the movable object implementation is working perfectly, the platform element still needs a bit more time to fix the bugs relating to properly calculating the player character's velocity. A different type of potential platform is the Sin Energy Filter Emitter, or Sin Bridge. When powered, this object emits a flat wave of Sin energy specifically tuned to let other objects pass through it but block the player. In this state, it makes for a nice semi-solid platform or a wall to block the player but allow other objects to phase through. Changing the local time of the emitter changes the objects which the filter affects. For example, if you speed up its local time, more energy is accumulated in the beam and it blocks all objects. If you were to slow it down, it would have less energy and block nothing, say a few specific objects. If you freeze the emitter, it doesn't emit anything and is in effect the same as being turned off. You will notice the emitter can be affected by the local time offset, but not the beam. The beam is not really tangible enough to focus on for a local temporal effect to work on. Generally, only solid things will be affected in this project, such as the launcher. When powered, the launcher will fling object with a predetermined amount of force. They have a small charge-up time before firing, they turn purple, then go back to yellow. The local time offset affects both the charge-up time and the force of the launcher. So if you slow it down, it will take longer to charge and exert much less force. Whereas if you sped it up, it will fire a lot faster and with a lot more force. These could be fun to use in larger rooms or as a general puzzle element. The force it applies overrides the player's movement input, so they will be at the whims of the arc they have set themselves on until they collide with something. Or die. That could happen too. Up next is the standard button. This is actually not technically a power source since it does not inherit from temporal object, but it still functions the same as a power source, so I'm going to mention it here too. If the player interacts with it in range, the button powers whatever it's connected to. If it's pressed again, it powers them down. Pretty simple and straightforward. The next powerful object is the fan. The fan, when powered, spins and exerts a force on an object in relation to how far away the object is and how fast the fan is spinning. If you speed up its local time, it spins faster and exerts more force on anything inside the airstream. Slowing it down, as you would expect, makes the force nearly non-existent. The force is additive, so when applied to the player, it does not stop their input. Of course, you will still be pushed back if the fan's force is greater than your walking speed. Up next is the Sin Energy Death Infliction Emitter, or Sin Beam. When powered, it fires a continuous stream of damaging Sin energy. It hurts you. Don't stand in it. The Sin energy also exerts a small force on objects other than the player when they intersect it, so you can't really block the beam for long by just placing a siphon cube down. The force is not applied to an object you are holding, however, so if you are careful you can get around it without it touching you. If you speed up the Sin Beam emitter, the beam will inflict even more damage. At its highest speed, it will instantly kill the player. It also exerts more force on objects it crosses over. I'm debating whether I will let beams at their maximum setting pierce through objects or not. If I decide to go in that direction, it could yield some interesting puzzle solutions. If you slow the emitter down, instead of a concentrated beam, you get these clumps of sin energy. They also deal damage on contact and exert a force. Unlike the beam, though, you're able to hold on to one of the clumps of sin energy and throw it back. These globules also have their own local time offset, so you can accelerate and decelerate them. I have not really finished the visuals for these, but the general concept will probably not be too far off from this. Lastly, for this video, we have the teleport pads. Teleport pads are neither powerable objects or power sources, but they are temporal objects. As the name implies, teleport pads teleport any valid object from one location to another. Momentum is preserved from point A to point B, but the direction of motion changes. Basically, fast thing goes in, fast thing comes out. Adjusting the local time offset of one teleport pad also affects the other, and it applies a multiplicative effect to the velocity of the object. Basically, if you speed up its local time, it will further accelerate whatever object comes out of it. Slow thing goes in, fast thing comes out. Fast thing goes in, dangerously fast thing comes out. If you slow it down, the opposite is true. Fast thing goes in, slow thing comes out. It should be noted the teleport pad does not affect the teleported object's local time, so you could even further accelerate it after it comes out of the other side. Just try not to stand in its direct path. There are a few other items I'm working on getting ready, but for now these are the primary elements within the levels. Alone, each of them have some interesting potential for levels, but it's when you start combining them that the real fun starts. For now, I'm going to start blocking out some of the levels and doing some stress tests with the objects when it comes to speed and specific interactions. I'm also going to work a bit on modeling out some of the missing elements, like the sin beams and some of the other objects I've not covered yet. Finally, I'm going to focus on removing as many glitches as possible, specifically ones from the player controller. In particular, there are a few relating to how it determines what state its animation is in, and occasionally getting stuck in a state that makes navigating the game world more strange from the altered height. I'm not exactly sure when the next devlog will be, but I expect it will focus more on lore and story as opposed to game mechanics. If you found this video or the progress in this project interesting, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and following it on Twitter for future development logs and updates. If you have any thoughts or questions relating to this project or in general, leave a comment below and I may be able to provide further information. Also consider joining the newly created Mark of Doom community Discord or following the Mark of Doom Reddit page. I try to post on all of these when I make a big change or something interesting and unexpected happens. That is all for now, and remember, the Great Shadow was first, and it will be last.